So hi guys, this is Karthik. In this video, I'll be sharing a nice coding interview problem that was asked at Code Nation. And yeah, this was asked in coding round. And I would say that this is a considerably hard problem. You can pause the video, read it on your own, try it for 10-15 minutes. And then you can also watch my solution. So the problem says that you're given with an array of n integers and you would like to perform a given operation k times, and every time you perform the operation your array changes to a new array. So if you had an array A, it becomes A dash. You perform the same operation again, the array becomes A dash dash, and so on. You have to perform this particular operation k times, and after performing this operation k times, you would like to tell in the array that you got here what is the mth element of this particular array. That is the entire question. And n and k are up to 10 power 5. Basically n is up to 10 power 5, k could be up to n. And yeah, so let's discuss the special operation as well. So the special operation says that given an array A, you have to construct an array A dash. So A had n integers, A dash will have n minus 1 integers, and every element of A dash will be the XOR of the corresponding elements of A. Basically you have to follow this property to form A dash, and therefore there will be one element less in A dash. So A dash will be having n minus 1 elements. Let's take this particular example and you will understand clearly what the problem is trying to ask. So you had this particular array, you want to perform the operation two times. So you perform the operation once, you will get an array with three elements, and the first element will be 1 XOR 2, second element would be 2 XOR 3, third element would be 3 XOR 4. You have to perform this operation once again because k equals to 2. Now you will get an array of two elements. The first element here would be 1 XOR 3, and this one here would be 2 XOR 4. And since they are asking us to tell what is the second element of this particular array, so you will output the answer is 2 XOR 4. And of course you have to perform the XOR operation, but I am not that good in calculating XOR in my mind. So yeah, the answer is 2 XOR 4. You will print that. So that's it. But if you do it like this in a simulation manner, if you try it like this, the complexity will be big of n into k. This should time out, and we need to think of a big of n solution or n log m solution. So let's get to that. So I'll be using some simple XOR properties and basic ideas to solve the problem, and hopefully you will be able to understand it easily. So initially I had this array. This was A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, something like this. Okay, let's say I had this particular array and these were the initial elements A1, A2, A3, so until A6. Now if I perform the operation once, I will get this new array with 5 elements, and this particular element here will be the XOR of these two elements. This one will be the XOR of these two, and you get the idea, right? So I can continuously perform this kind of operations till I reach an array with only one element, and this will form a pyramid kind of structure, a triangle kind of structure, something like this. If I perform the operation once again, I will get an array with 4 elements, and again the XOR idea stays the same. And finally I reach the top of a pyramid. Now I will focus on evaluating the answer for this guy, the top of the pyramid or the top of the triangle. And I can tell you that the problem will ask you to find one of these elements belonging to this triangle, because these are the only elements that can be formed by using these operations. These are exhaustive, all the possibilities, right? So one of these will be asked to you in the problem, and if you are able to solve for the top of this triangle, you can solve for any guy because the problem is basically the same. So let's say that the problem had in fact asked you to find this guy out. So you can reduce the problem to this triangle and finding the top of this triangle. So basically any element of this triangle could be broken down to a subarray and the triangle built on top of that subarray. For example, if you were asked this guy, you could have this subarray from A2 to A4, and you want to find the top of the pyramid for the subarray A2 to A4. If you were asked some other element, for example maybe this guy, then you can take the subarray from A2 to A6 and you want to find the top of the triangle on top of the subarray A2 to A6. So I'm only going to focus on solving for the top of the triangle for A1 to A6, and all the others are going to be same. So let's just focus on calculating what the answer for the top of the triangle built on the subarray A1 to A built on the array A1 to A6 is, and you'll be able to solve the problem then. So I know that the top of the triangle is basically going to be the XOR of these elements some number of times, right? So A1 will be appearing some number of times, maybe x1 times. So A1 XOR A1 XOR A1, so until x1 times. This is a simple notation for that. And A2 will be appearing some x2 times, so until the last guy A6 would appear some x6 number of times, and these elements have to be XORed together in order to obtain the top of the triangle. Now the property of XOR says that if x1 is even, then all the a1s will cancel each other out and this will become a 0, and zeros or any number is the number itself, so you can simply say that a1 does not contribute to this. If x1 is odd, then a1 does contribute to it, and it contributes exactly a1 once. So your XOR here will be a1 XOR something, right? Hopefully this thing is clear to you. And similarly, you can find out if x2 is odd or even, x6 is odd or even, and like that. So you can find out which of these elements is actually contributing to the top of the triangle. But how do we know whether a1 appears odd number of times or even number of times here? So let's focus on a particular guy. Let's think about a2. This guy is a2. a2 contributes to this guy once, exactly once, right? a2 contributes to this guy exactly once, because this element is basically a1 XOR a2 and this guy is a2 XOR a3. So yeah, these two get the contribution of a2 exactly once. That's cool. How about this guy? So this guy will get the contribution of a2 exactly twice. This guy will get the contribution of a2 exactly once. What about this guy? This guy will get the contribution of a2 thrice, because 2 times from here and 1 time from here. There were 2 a2s here and 1 a2 here, so yeah, thrice. Similarly, a2 will contribute once here, and then here we will have 4 a2s, because 3 from here, 1 from here, and you get 4 a2s here. Finally you have 1 a2 here, and yeah, 5 a2s here. So you can see that I could actually build this kind of thing up, and I could know that there are 5 a2s in overall contributing to the top of the pyramid. That is okay. And yeah, since 5 is odd, so this means that a2 does contribute to the top of the triangle. Now the observation here is that a2 will contribute, the number of times a2 contributes to the triangle, to the top of the pyramid, is basically the number of paths that start from this guy a2 and reach to the top, given that from a node you can either go one up or one directionally left up. So either you can, from the second element of this array, I could go to the second element of the array just above it, or the first element of the array just above it, and you'll be making either a up move or a directionally left up move, and these are the only two moves that are available to you at any position of this like any node of this kind of pyramid. So you know that the two possible moves that you have, and 5 is the number of basically paths that start from here. Follow these rules that either you go up or you go directionally left up and reach to the top. So basically the number of paths that start at this guy and end here is the number of times a2 appears at the top of the triangle, and you can verify that exactly 5 paths will start from here, follow these rules and reach this guy. So a2 will appear 5 times at the top of the triangle. But still the thing is that how do we actually evaluate these number of paths efficiently, right? This is still, we don't know any efficient way to calculate these number of paths. We want something efficient. So I know that a2 is the second element of this array, and the top of the triangle is basically the first element of this array. So this means that at some point, whenever you take a up move, right, then your second element stays the second element of even the future array. If I take a up move, it stays the second element of this array. From here, if I take the up move, it stays the second element. So if I only make up moves, the normal up moves, then my second element or the ith element will stay the ith element of the array above it also. But if I make a directionally left up move, so up dot left move, only then will I go one step to the left. So the ith element will become the I minus 1th element. And the idea here is that since this is the second guy here and this is the first guy here, so I have to make at least one up dot left move. Only will then I move one step to the left. Since this is the second guy, I want it to become the first in the future, so I have to make one up left move at least. And not just at least, exactly one up left move. Because only up left moves have the power of changing the index of a guy. Now the idea is that the total moves is easy to decide because total moves will be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? So total moves is easy to decide. The number of moves you need to make to reach the top, that will be the distance between the top and the initial array, and that can be easily found out, the total number of moves. The uplift moves you need to make can also be found out. So if you were thinking about A1, you don't actually need to make any uplift move. Whereas if you were thinking about A6, you need to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 uplift moves. In fact, all the moves will be uplift moves only, because only then will the sixth element become the first element. So you know the total moves needed. You know the exact number of up dot left moves needed, the moves that you make in the directionally left upward direction. And since you know the total moves, you know the up dot left moves, so you also know the normal up moves that you need to make, and you have all the information about your path. Your path is going to consist of up left and up moves, and using some basic combinatorics you could actually form the number of paths that start from here and end here. So here's the idea. Basically you have to make exactly one up left move for A2, and the remaining 4 moves will be normal up moves, and you could arrange them anyhow, right? You could arrange the up left and up moves in any order. And how many such orderings exist? So total moves are 5, so 5 factorial for that, divided by the repeated factorial. So 1 factorial for the up left moves and 4 factorial for the up moves. So those all up moves are basically the same, so you divide it by 4 factorial, and overall you get this thing turn out to be 5. And this was exactly the number of paths from A2 to here. We even calculated that using dynamic programming here. You could calculate that using pen and paper and tracing out every path. You will get that there are exactly 5 paths, and all you need to know is if this quantity is odd or even, and you're done. So let's try out one more. So think about A3. How many paths start from A3 and end to the top of the triangle? So for A3, I need to make 2 uplift moves because I want the third element to become the first element. The only way of making the third element second or first element is by making an uplift move, because that decreases the index of that element, right? So you need to make it exactly 2 uplift moves and exactly 3 up moves, right? Because total moves are 5 going up till here. So it's going to be 5 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 3 factorial. And this thing I guess turns out to be 10. So 10 is even. This means A3 does not contribute anything to the top of the triangle. Similarly for A4, you need to make exactly 3 up left and 2 up moves. That will turn out to be the same. So A4 would also not contribute. Same way for A5, you would need to make 4 up left moves and exactly 1 up move. That would turn out to be 5 factorial divided by 4 factorial into 1 factorial. I guess that would be odd. So yeah, A5 will contribute. A6 would turn out to be only one path from here till top. So that would also contribute. And you could actually evaluate this particular thing. So the only thing that you need to evaluate is that for the ith element of the initial array, the top of the triangle, you would like to make exactly I minus 1 up dot left moves, and the remaining moves will be only up moves. So let me say that the remaining moves are R. All you need to determine is whether the ith element will contribute to the top will depend only upon the total moves factorial, the total moves that you need to make to reach to the top of the triangle, divided by I minus 1 factorial into R factorial. So that's it. If this thing turns out to be odd, then your ith element does contribute to the top of the triangle. If this thing turns out to be even, then the ith element does not contribute to the top of the triangle. Now the last question is, how do we actually calculate this thing? So I actually don't need to evaluate it. All I need to know is whether this is odd or even. So I will pre-process the number of 2's that appear in the total moves factorial. What is the 2 power that appears in this guy? What is the 2 power that appears here, and what is the 2 power that appears here? I would cancel that out, and in this overall thing, if there exists even a single factor of 2, then this is an even number, otherwise this is an odd number. So if all the factors of 2 are cancelled out using these two factorials, then it is odd, and if even one of the factor does not cancel out, then this particular quantity is even. So that's easy to determine. You could pre-process for every factorial what are the factors of 2 that appear in that particular factorial, and that particular table could be calculated in big O of n times, so you are done. So overall this is a big O of n time complexity. And guys, if you have any doubts, you can ask me in comments. Thanks for watching.